For example, simply if you want to understand the fully dependency, partial dependency, if a simple example, suppose children are there. So when children are depending on father and mother, both are there, and on both we depending here, then it is called as a fully dependency we call. Okay, na? So what we said guys here, fully dependency means what now? So children are depending on mother and father. When we depends on both of them, then it is called as a fully dependency. Okay, right. What about partial dependency means? In some cases, what it was happening guys here, some children are having only mother, but there is a no father. Some children are having only father, but there is no mother. So in that cases, those children are depending on any one person. Okay. Some children are depends on mother, but there is no father, no mother. So that is what we called as a partial dependency we call. So when a children is depending on both mother and father, is called a fully dependency. Otherwise, some children are depending on only mother, there is no father, only father, there is no father, no mother. So at this kind of partially dependency we called any one person only there. Okay, now this is fully and partially differences. Okay, right. Now the definition understand now. And here our second normalization technique, what it was telling, your table should not contain partially dependency columns. Your table should not contain partially dependency columns. Suppose your table is having partially dependency column is there, then immediately those columns will be removed. Okay, because if your table is having a fully dependency, nothing problem. But your table should not contain partially dependency columns. If it is there, immediately remove. Okay, now we can see. Here, student ID, subject ID, these are two primary key columns. It is called as a, we all of you know, already we discussed. Okay, composite primary key we called. So whenever we applied primary key on multiple columns in a table, then the kind of nature is called as a composite primary key nature we called. And this concept already in early classes, data integrity classes, we discussed already. Okay, now once you just recall your subject, you can get it some idea. At the time of constants we discussed now, so there we already explained to you. Composite primary key, right? Now here, student ID, subject ID, these are the two primary key columns, guys. Okay, na? Right. Next, we have it here, marks and teacher, these are the non-primary key columns. So marks is also non-primary key, teacher is also non-primary key. Okay, na? Right. So now I'm asking to you, suppose marks column is there. Suppose this marks column is going to be depends on student ID na, or subject ID or both. Any guessing, guys? Just logically think. Marks column is depends on student ID or subject ID or both of them. Tell me, your marks column is depending on what? What do you say, guys? Your marks column depending on what? Student ID or subject ID or both? Yes, very good. Here, marks column depends on both because To write an examination, you need a subject. Who will be writer? Student is writing. So your marks column is a non-primary key column, but this column is depending on both the primary key columns, the both columns of composite primary key columns. So marks column is depending on student ID because students are writing examination name based on the subject. So depending on subject also. So student subject is there, marks will be obtained. Student subject is there, marks will be obtained. So that means your marks column is depending on both columns, student ID, subject. Then tell me, marks column is a partially dependencia or fully dependencia? What do you say, guys? Marks column is a partially dependencia, fully dependencia? Yes, fully dependency. Fully dependency. Fully dependency. Yes or no? Because both columns depend. So marks column is not a problem to me because it is a fully dependency column. But next column is what now? Teacher. Now tell me, guys, here, teacher is a depending on subject or depending on student? What do you say? Depending on student or depending on subject? Yeah, here teacher is always depends on subject. So teacher is always depends on subject, but not as students. Why? Because students are temporary. So students are coming and going. But teacher permanent is what now? Subject. For example, myself is there. Suppose you guys are learning SQL Server from me, and I'm teaching SQL Server subject. How many days are you stay with me up to your course is completed? Suppose the next 10 days your course will be finishing. The course will be completed next 10 days. Within 10 days your course is completed. So your course is completed within 10 days means what you want to do? Are you left from me? That means are you living? Are you living and are going to some other technologies or otherwise you are going to jobs? That is your dependency. So it means what happened? How many days are you interacting with me up to our course is completed? Once course is completed, what you people will do? You will be living from Naresh IT and you're searching your jobs and the next level. Life will be leading you. The life will be leading. So here, but you people are living. But what it was happened, once you leave from me, then again another student is coming to me. Point understanding now? Once you people are leaving from me, again another batch is forming. Again another batch students are coming. So then again new batches form, new students, again new students interaction will be going on. So that means here I'm the same. My subject is same, but here students are changing. So that means I am depending on my subject, not a student. Because student is not a permanent to me. Students, what I'm saying here, coming and going. But subject is always permanent to me. Subject is always permanent to me. Because after you left from me, again new batch is created, and the new batch purpose also I'm teaching SQL Server. That means subject is permanent to me, but student is a temporary to me. So in such a case, what do you understand? Teacher column is depending on subject ID, but not a student ID. So that means, can I say teacher column, is a partially dependency column na? Come on guys, what do you say? Is a partially dependency column na? Definitely. Partially dependency column. But our second normalization form, what it was telling to us, your table should not contain partial dependency. Second normalization form, what it was telling, your table should not contain partial dependency. So it means that what you understand guys here, now my score table is having partially dependency column. So now what it was happened, this table is not satisfied my second normalization technique. My second normalization form, okay, that is not supported here. It is not supported. So then what we want to do, now this teacher column, I need to remove from my score table. And remove from score table, keep into another table. That is called a normalization. We call normalization is what we said, decomposing, splitting, dividing your table data is called a normalization. So now teacher column data, now I want to split or remove, okay, and keep into another table. So now what it was going to do, not what I want to do here simply. Now I'm going to do, there are, okay, two tables I designed guys here. There are two tables. So one table I divided here. Subject table. In subject table, what I did, I'm creating subject ID, subject name, and teacher. This is I'm keeping in this. Now come to your score table. Score table is having student ID, subject ID, and marks. Now, if you see these two tables, what happened in these two tables? Do you have any partially dependency columns are there in this two tables? Carefully observe. This is subject table. Subject table, subject ID, subject name, teacher. This is one table separately I designed and storing the data. This is another table, score table. Score table, student ID, subject ID, marks. So now tell me in this two table, do you have any partially dependency column is there? No. So no means, then tell me these two tables are satisfied. Second normalization technique. Yes or no? Yes. So these two tables satisfied, okay, second normalization technique, because whatever the partially dependency column is there in my table, so the partially dependency column is removed from my table, and keep into and stored into another table we form, and there we are keeping. Okay, now, right. So now this is what we called as guys. Okay, now, right. So this is what we called as. So in this student ID, subject ID, composite primary key. Okay, now here subject ID is a primary key, subject name and teacher. So all are having fully dependency columns are there. Okay, now but there is no partial dependency. Okay, now this is second problem. This is what we can say. Second normalization technique will be, okay, how it was defined in your tables. Okay, that is what. Come to third normal form. Third normal form. So first read the definition of third normal form, guys. Third normal form, what it was telling to us, for a table to be in the third normal form,